Okay, so for today's episode, this is a conversation I've had about a year ago, which I just found in an obscure Zoom folder somewhere on my PC. Hey, Zoom, sort of the file saving interface, it does weird things on different days of the week. Anyway, this couple are originally from India and China, but they're based in Canada. They've never been to Japan, but they're very serious foodies, which of course plays into their interest in potentially migrating here. And we talk about a bunch of stuff from lifestyle choices. So, what's life like in Japan in various cities and locations? And anything from getting by without speaking the language, at the start at least, to what Japanese people are like, property prices, and so forth. What current at the time border restrictions look like as far as tourists are concerned. COVID related restrictions, which were still a bit of a thing when we spoke, are obviously less of a concern at the moment. But we also talk visas, renewing them, which also then turned into a conversation about the requirements for acquiring and then continuously renewing a business management visa. We talk about the financial and legal considerations of applying for this kind of visa. And we also talk taxes, the difference between individual and corporate taxes in Japan, tax treaties and double taxation, and of course, working and earning an income in Japan, either by running a business, finding employment or investment, normal businesses, franchise businesses, what kinds are recommended for visa purposes. So really nice, well-rounded conversation with a very cute couple. Lean back, enjoy it, and I'll see you again on the other side. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, this is perfect. Yeah, she was.
So Saket, and sorry, what was your name?
Sophie.
Moika?
Sophie.
Sophie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Yep, so how can I help, Saket? You just wrote opportunities. You didn't give me much to go on. So what's your interest?
Yeah. So basically, we both are interested in some place which is more like we can like the culture.
Yeah.
And we can actually work from home. So basically, that gives us advantage that we can live in a place that we love, which is cheaper, really relatively to as compared to Canada. I'm not saying like cheaper as just cheaper.
I heard Vancouver is one of the worst bubbles in the world.
Oh my God. Vancouver or Toronto? Actually,
Toronto too? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've been to crazy phases. Now, like, it's declining like crazy.
Yeah.
The Toronto market.
Oh, it's declining now, is it?
Because interest rate, right? Everything here depends on the interest rate, bank interest rate. And bank interest rate is going up crazy. So investors are putting off.
This is really interesting. This might be a good time to invest in Canada now. Thank you for telling me.
I think so. I think so. Maybe in 2-3 months.
Yeah, the interest up again.
Yeah, so real investors who want to invest for a living long term.
So do you know how much prices went down by, roughly?
15 to 20%.
I think Toronto's 20%.
Toronto is
not bad at all. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So what will you do visa-wise? Are you running your own business? Are you going to run a business management visa? What's the plan there?
Oh, we don't have idea about how we can actually come and live in Japan based on what kind of visa.
What are some options that are like worth exploring then basically? Like both of us in Canada as permanent residents. I'm Chinese, like I hold a China passport and he hold an Indian passport.
But I'm planning to apply for citizenship. I'm qualified, but it's just in process.
It's like his own timeline.
Well,
so we
for Japan, sorry, go ahead.
No, we do need to understand what are some options that we can explore.
Yeah.
And then like feasible, right? So
yeah.
Or is there any special benefit in terms of Canadian citizenship? You know what I mean?
So that was the first thing I was gonna say. There's not a huge advantage that I'm aware of with your 3 passports. So Chinese, Canadian, Indian, they're all migrating to Japan with various schemes, various visas. So I don't think there's any preferred treatment of any of the 3 passports. The options are, so you said you work from home. Does that mean you're self-employed or are you employed by companies?
No. So I'm in the area of data science, and she is analytics lead manager actually in one of the biggest company in Canada, but her office is more like she can work from home anywhere, any country.
But you're both
So
salaried employees. You're not owning your own
yeah,
business.
full-time permanent.
Right. So that's going to be a bit of an issue because, first of all, I'm not an immigration lawyer, so take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is just based on consultations that we've had with other clients and immigration lawyers and so forth. To get a visa to Japan, unless you're going to be employed by a Japanese company, which is probably not an immediate option, the best way, I'd say the only way for you to get in would be a business management visa. So you would need to own and operate a business in Japan.
Oh, so is it possible that we can actually start a company along with our jobs, like a small company that we can start in Japan?
Yep.
You say you can,
I
as
can.
data science.
I
Yeah.
That's not an
can.
issue, but so the financial requirements, and this could change a little bit every year. So this is going off last year. To qualify for the visa in the first place for the application, you'll need to invest at least 5 million yen. So about 50,000, or at the moment, about more like 42,000 US.
Around 50,000 Canadian.
Canadian. Okay. So you'll need to invest that in an actual business and have a business plan. It improves your chances if you're also hiring local staff, but it's not necessary. And assuming that you apply and you get the visa, that will be for a period of 1 year. At the end of every year, you will need to show taxable income of at least 2.3 or 2.5 million yen. So about 20,000 US in taxable income per person. So if one of you is the applicant, the other one is the dependent, that becomes 5 million yen. And that needs to be, sorry, a bit noisy here, and that needs to be taxable income, meaning if you, for example, if you purchase property or assets and then you deduct the purchase costs and depreciation, which is what most business owners do, at least in the first few years, then your taxable income actually becomes zero or close to zero. So it's a bit of a catch-22 where you want to claim as many expenses as you can for tax purposes, but then if you claim too many, then you're not going to have enough
what is
to
the
renew the visa.
tax rate in average, like just averagely in Japan, or does it depend on hugely where you live? Like if you live in Japan,
No.
Tokyo
No.
is
So non-residents are taxed in the same way as residents. There's actually residents pay a little bit more taxes because of local municipal taxes and residency stuff, but it's not much in any case. So they're taxed almost exactly the same. Corporates in Japan are taxed at a flat rate of 20%.
Oh, that's not bad.
Not too bad. Yeah.
Living in Canada is not bad. I mean, in Canada we do like 33 or 34 actually.
Well, life is good because you pay a lot of taxes, right?
No, I pay about almost 50%. So,
wow, that was Australia when I left as well. It's quite common, I think. So in Japan, it's lower. Corporate tax is a flat 20%. It varies a little bit depending on how much income you're actually making. So it could go worst case up to maybe 26.5% from memory. I'll send you links. I'll send you some links to tax tables.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you here. So here's a question because it's very relevant to us as a Canadian employee, because we'll be working for a Canadian company actually, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll still be paying Canadian tax. That will be independent of what business we invest in, right?
Well, Japan and Canada have a tax treaty in place. So whatever taxes you pay on your income in Japan, you will show your tax statement in Canada, and then they might tax you for the difference if you're still Canadian residents. I'm not sure exactly how it works. So you consult with your accountant there. But Japan, for the first 5 years that you're living here, Japan doesn't care about your overseas income. So you don't need to report that in Japan unless you're bringing it into Japan. If you're withdrawing that income from Canada into Japan, then you will need to report its source. And then it might or might not be taxable depending on the circumstance. This is, again, I'm also not an accountant, just so
maybe it's a little bit difference of the income, because I think they know.
let's say Canada taxed 40%, Japan taxed 20%. So then Canada may get the difference, which is a
Canada
20%.
will want to tax you on the
Canada
difference.
for
Yes.
20%. Yeah.
So we'll
The government will never lose a penny if they
Yeah.
want that. So.
Well, what
So
a lot of
basically-
people do is they set up a, well, in your case, your employees, it may be not that significant, but people who have a business overseas, for example, then they set up a branch company in Japan of the same business, and then they can offset losses and expenses and profits against each other because it's the same company essentially, right? So that's,
Yeah.
Interesting.
but I'm not sure, do you have
Pretty much
investments in
real.
Canada as well? Is there anything that you could?
Well, not much. She owns a house, which is
Okay. So that's
based
probably not
on some
relevant.
down
But
payment.
that's not even.
It's
No,
not, it's
that's
not
not even.
relevant. So yeah, we are thinking to save up a little bit more so we can actually migrate to some other country in soon, like within a year or 6 months or something like that.
Yeah. So you'd
So
probably be starting off with a business visa. We'll talk about what sort of businesses you can do with that business visa in a minute. But let's assume that you're starting with a business visa in Japan and assume that you're generating enough income to continuously renew it for somewhere between 5 to 10 years. You'd then be eligible to apply for permanent residency here as well.
okay, that's
5
good.
to 10 years. Okay.
5 to 10 years.
Well, then-
They say it's depending on the type of business you're doing, but in reality, it's depending on how much money you're making. The more you make, the shorter the period becomes.
Of course.
That's right. So actually, these all things I honestly think can be managed if we really can get a home which is in a city that we enjoy living in. So money and all these things are really secondary. Taxes and all things are really basically it's part of life, right? Everybody's paying that. But then what's most important for us is to really live in a city that we can enjoy living in. That's and then the expenses of living, and especially if you choose to buy a property that we are not really looking into investing in Tokyo or anything, but something like tier 2 city.
Well, so let's separate the two for a moment. Are you talking about the house that, so for your personal purposes, you're probably going to have something like a holiday home, because even on a tourist visa, you can come in for up to 6 months every year. So you could spend a lot of time here if you wanted even before. So assuming you're going to have a holiday home, which might down the track turn into a family residence. But when you're talking investments, I wouldn't mix the two, because the criteria that we would go for with investment property is going to be totally different. You're not going to want to live in the places that you'll be investing in, and vice versa. The people who will be living in those units that you'll invest in will never be buying them. So these like owner occupier or holiday homes and investment properties are usually quite different, at least in Japan.
So for that tourist visa, 6 months you were talking about, so let's say first year we just want to try it out, and then we'll be on a tourist visa for, let's say, 5-6 months.
So it's for 3 months, but you can renew it once without leaving the country. So after when the 3 months are about to expire, you just pop over to the immigration office and you get it renewed for another 3 months. That's usually not going to be a problem.
Okay, so basically we just hypothetically rent somewhere Airbnb monthly, but then there won't be any tax implication because we were just there as tourists in a way, right?
Rent it out, you mean, when you're not there?
Like, no, just like find a accommodation on Airbnb, which we can pay monthly as a rent.
Oh, for you to stay when you come, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah,
because
it depends on.
At the beginning, it's more like test the water, right? Like if we're not sure, let's say we just for first year we do the tourist visa. Then if we just live there for 3 to 6 months, there won't be any tax implication, basically, right? So we're just in Japan.
There wouldn't be. You're not a resident for tax purposes, but Airbnb for 6 months can cost a lot of money.
Well, we'll rent out the house here, so then that will cover the rent in Japan. So the net is not like hopefully the gap won't be too significant.
In terms of cities, even for investment and also for living better life in terms of having Japanese culture experience, and we don't really like very fast-paced life. Like in Tokyo or anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think Tokyo will be
Yeah.
something like it's more just I think Osaka, Kyoto, or Nagoya, like somewhere we can enjoy the Japanese culture a little bit more.
Food.
Food, yes, it's a big part of it, and also it's
That's
friendly
everywhere
for
in Japan, right?
foreigners. It's
Yeah.
friendly for us because there will be some level of English. I think that what we need. Like I know a little bit of Japanese, like I can go by, but he won't be able
English
to.
is tricky if you're out of central Tokyo and Osaka. And
Yeah.
if you like, there's some ski villages in Hokkaido where everyone can speak English, but Okinawa near the army bases. But other big cities, like if we're talking Nagoya, Fukuoka, Sapporo, probably not that much English. Kyoto people understand English, but they don't like to speak English. So Kyoto might be an option. But
But
Yeah.
if actually the incentive to learn Japanese in terms of living in some city, which gives you significant advantage over in terms of living standard and food and living expenses, I think I will learn Japanese. I mean,
oh,
that's
you wouldn't have a choice. You would definitely learn Japanese. Just going into a convenience store day after day, a supermarket, you'll have to
How
pick a
long
choice.
have you been in Japan right now?
What's that? Sorry?
How long have you been living in Japan?
I've been here for about 10 years.
10 years. So your Japanese is fluent?
My casual street Japanese is okay.
Okay. Enough to get by.
Business Japanese, and they've got 3 types of alphabets. So the
Yeah,
kanji,
yeah.
the higher levels are still beyond me, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. No, I actually learned Japanese when I was in university for 2 years.
Oh, you're Chinese. You got the
um,
kanji part figured out. That's good.
yeah, I can definitely understand also the kanji. Like that for me is like free. So
Yeah.
if I go to a hospital, I know where is a cardiovascular, where is a neuroscience,
Yeah.
because they're all in kanji, right? So that for me is very,
Yeah.
very easy. Like hiragana, katakana, I know how to pronounce them, but I do need to refresh my vocabulary.
Yeah, I heard that some of them actually have different meanings, though, Chinese and Japanese kanji. They're not all
Yeah,
the
some of
same.
them are, but directionally aligned, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming back to business here, so I would like to know your opinion about living in, what is the difference in terms of economic, lifestyle,
Yeah.
and convenience between the cities or categories of cities?
I'm biased. I mean, we live in Fukuoka, and it's the best city that I've ever lived in. So I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Cost of living
Which one?
here, Fukuoka. It's
Fukuoka.
the biggest city in Western Japan. It's about 1.7 million people. It's got an international airport that's a very quick connection to anywhere in Asia, which is fantastic. And there's beaches, right? Like real beaches, not like Tokyo, dirty black pebble beaches, like actual beaches. Cost of living here is about 20-30% lower than Tokyo and Osaka. And it's a wonderful place. But otherwise, I know a lot of people that enjoy smaller cities near Tokyo and Osaka. So Kobe is a great place. Saitama near Tokyo.
Kobe beef.
Kobe beef you can find all over Japan. You don't need to go there for that. But yeah. Yokohama, Chiba cities, which are close to Tokyo but not as busy as Tokyo. There are a lot of nice places, and I guess the first choice would be a weather kind of choice, right? Like what kind of climate do you want? Because we've got everything from cold.
Yeah.
Warmer.
I think we both like
Definitely not somewhere Hokkaido, like
nothing like Canada. Basically, that's why we are skipping from, right?
So center and south. Okay.
Yeah, something in between. We don't mind few months of snow. It's fine. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4 months, but not like 6, 7, 8 months snow, like in Alberta or somewhere.
Yeah, now we live in London, Ontario, so it's 6 months of snow, 6 months of spring, summer, fall, right?
Okay. Or even Sapporo is less snow than that. Not much less.
Yeah.
Less snow than that.
Yeah, so that's why at the beginning we were talking about Kyoto or Osaka, because that's more in the West Japan. Like Okinawa will be too hot, I think, because that's more tropical.
Kyoto also gets very, very hot in the summer because it's in between mountains. It's in a valley, and the air doesn't go anywhere. It gets very hot and humid in Kyoto in the summer.
Makes
So I
sense.
would probably, if you want warmer but not like tropical, not Okinawa, then I'd say Fukuoka, Nagoya, maybe. It's also a bit of a bigger city. I mean, Nagoya has got more of a city feel to it. Fukuoka is more like spread out and beaches and
Actually,
parks and so forth.
Fukuoka feels right because 1.7 million population. You said 1.7 million, right?
Yep.
It's actually for us is pretty, for us as Chinese and Indian, is pretty small city actually.
It's
right?
definitely not Chinese or Indian levels, no.
Yeah.
But it's a great place. Not to get into your personal plans, but it's a fantastic family to city to raise a family in as well. It's very family oriented. There's bicycle
That's what
paths.
we are looking for
Yeah.
actually.
So
And is it
bicycle.
close to sea, like seafood and other stuff?
He
Like,
said
Yep.
there's
Yep.
oh, real beaches. So of course they have sea.
Yeah, fantastic seafood, and it's the birthplace of the ramen that you know in the West. The
Oh my
pork bowl.
God, I
Yeah,
love
that
ramen.
comes from Hakata, from Fukuoka. So
Oh,
yeah, it's a very good place for food as well. But
so
it's
what
not
is
just Fukuoka itself. If you're so Kyushu, the western landmass, which Fukuoka is the bigger city in, I mean, all around the city and up to 2 hours at most south, there's fantastic hiking and onsens and rivers, and it's great.
good life in
so
terms of
from
what goes on.
Fukuoka, and if you take the bullet train to, let's say, Tokyo, how long would it take?
4.5 hours, I think.
Okay, not
Oh my
bad.
God, that's like.
But I mean, there's budget flights for like 100, sometimes even less return, right? So it's not it's a lot faster than bullet train, but depends on where you want to get it.
That's actually pretty good. And so we have some access to.
Kyushu Island, right? It's a different island from the mainland.
Yeah.
And you think about geography of Japan, I never studied that, but I've never been there too. But sounds good. I think this is perfect city actually for a requirement. What do you feel like, right? 1.5 million population is mid-size. I wouldn't say it's a big city. It's mid-size city for me actually.
Yeah, but it feels like there's a central area in the city, which is another advantage. Like in Tokyo, if you want to get to some event or some shop or something, exciting that's happening, it's usually on the other side of the city, 2-hour train ride. In Fukuoka, everything is very centralized. You can get with a bicycle within
kind of like London,
minutes.
where we moved from Toronto to London because we were so fed up with the 1 hour traffic jam, 2-hour traffic jam. Where in London, 30 minutes take you from one end of the city to the other end of the city. So that's what we like.
Wow. So it's,
and we have 2 cats and 1 dog.
Yeah, I think cats can roam free in Japan, I guess. So
no, they're not supposed to. Some of them do, but they're not supposed to. But if you're bringing them with you, rental is definitely not Airbnbs. Even normal rental is going to be challenging, especially with the dog.
Oh,
okay.
So you might want to consider buying instead.
Yeah. So coming to my most important concern or the interest, basically. Yep. So how much house prices range in Fukuoka for
suburban
2 or 3% family?
Yeah, so suburban Fukuoka, if you're okay within, let's say, still 10-15 minute walking distance to a station, but the station itself will be a bit distant from the center. So let's say 15-20 minutes by train to the city center.
Yeah, we're fine with that. We are fine with driving to, like, of course, we drive like.
Japan driving is on the other side, right?
I know.
Is it?
Like
London
it's like
style, yeah.
It's like a Britain, right?
Yeah.
Like a British style.
Yeah,
so,
Britain, Australia.
Indian side.
I'm used to it. Yeah. I'm used to it.
So suburban house from the late 80s, early 90s in Fukuoka is probably going to be 12 to 15 million if it's in good shape. So just under 100,000 US if you're lucky.
Oh, wow. That's actually, but then as foreign buyers, we are not eligible for any mortgage, right? So it will be
You're not eligible
cash.
for a mortgage.
All of it? Or
not until you have
like 50-50?
Not until you have permanent residency and a year or 2 or 3 of income in Japan in yen. So not before that.
So that's all like cash, right? And
yes.
We cannot do that 50%.
But basically, if you have cash, you don't need any, let's say, visa or permit to purchase a property. We can buy it as foreign investor. Okay.
Yeah, there's no
So
limitation
that's
on
good.
foreign buyers.
That's good to know.
So even if we put 50% down, bank won't give us anything
Zero, unfortunately.
unless you're a permanent resident.
Permanent residents with an income stream in Japan that they can show.
So if we have some investment which generates some $20,000-$30,000, that is actually a prerequisite to get even PR, basically, if you think
Yeah, but
about
you'll need to first find some way to make that income be generated in Japan. So
yeah, that's what I'm
for
saying.
the
If we
investments
invest,
to be owned under a Japanese company, for example, that would do it. Yeah, but that would 20,000-30,000 would cover you for one of you. For the second person, you'll need another similar amount.
So it's better if you just
And also
want
you
to-
need to invest in something that's related to business. So you'll need to put down $5 million, $50,000 roughly in some kind of investment, and start a company. So companies come with an upkeep cost in Japan of something like at least $2,000 to $3,000 a year, sometimes $3,000 to $4,000 a year. So whatever you're investing, whatever returns you're getting, if you're making 10,000 and you're paying 4,000 in company upkeep, it's ridiculous. So there needs to be a bit of a well thought business plan in place.
Yeah.
You'll need to know what exactly you'll be investing in. So property investment is actually not the best way to do it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So what kind of business would you suggest, or you actually have experience to help us with?
So I've got two companies. One company just handles real estate on behalf of foreign buyers. So I can help you with everything you need to do. Then the other company helps investors invest in Japanese franchise businesses. So you buy into a Japanese franchise chain as a franchisee, and then you set up a company. Obviously, you're hiring staff. The minimum investment is going to be what's needed for a business visa, and the income, hopefully, property investment generate maybe 6-7%. And ongoing business should be generating at least 15 to 25%, sometimes more. So it's a lot easier with an actual operating business. So the franchises can be, there's a lot of things. There's fast food, there's like secondhand dealerships that buy luxury goods from people.
Business.
There's after
business in
school.
Japan. You need to be really good to compete.
Yeah. But they're not
What's the
super
success
cheap. So
rate
the
so
minimum, sorry?
What's the success rate right now? Like, let's say you help 10 households to migrate, how many actually manage to land in Japan successfully?
To migrate, you mean?
Like, basically you've been helping with clients, right? To
Yep.
go to Japan. Let's say 10 goes to you and you help with 10. How many actually manage to go successfully?
Well, we don't apply until we're sure that they're going to be successful. So we're working with an immigration lawyer and we're working with an accountant. We put together a business plan. We see what kind of business they want to invest in. And the immigration lawyer will guide us along the way to say that this would be easier to qualify for. This would be a bit more challenging. So by the time we actually get down to applying, they all pass and they all get the business visa, but not all of them reach that stage. So a lot of people realize what's involved in owning and operating a business. They realize the complications, the logistics, the investment capital required, and they just drop off along the way. So that's where we, I guess you could call it lose people. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm an analyst, so I usually look at the numbers. That's why I have it.
Very reasonable question, not a problem.
No worries.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I feel like the first step we probably should explore from a tourist visa perspective to see if actually it's something we would like to explore down the road.
Yep.
And
have you guys been to Japan, by the way?
What?
Have you been to Japan? Do you know you know the country? Not yet.
Actually, one year when I was in university, I applied to a Japanese program. But then that year they had that big earthquake with that leakage of the radiation stuff.
Yeah.
So my parents locked me up. Well, I got grounded, and then
Wise
you
people.
cannot go. Otherwise, I got accepted and everything was ready. I just need to hop on the plane and go basically. But no, they grounded me and I couldn't go. And then, life goes on, and then once you give up, you never really revisit.
Well, if
So
you've
that
never
was
been
kind
here
of-
before, I
Yeah,
definitely
but
start on a tourist visa. Don't go buying stuff and investing in stuff. Just, come and visit.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Maybe
so.
check out a few cities, see where you're more comfortable, and then we can form maybe a clearer
I
plan
think
from
that
there.
sounds like a better plan. Yeah.
yeah.
And how's I'm Chinese. So going back to China, there's a lot of quarantine with COVID and all that. How's it right now, like in Japan?
Right.
Can
At the
we
moment, fingers crossed, I hope it stays that way, but at the moment, there's no quarantine required as long as you're showing 3 vaccinations.
3 vaccine? Okay.
Yeah.
3.
So we do need 1 extra.
Yeah.
We're double vax right now. So
You'll need to get another one, and they've got a really useful app that you can upload all of your vaccination certificates and your documents before you actually board your plane, and then you just flash the app has like a blue screen that shows you passed, and you show that to the immigration officials, and it's normal entry.
okay.
Perfect.
And then I guess as tourists, we also need some insurance then, especially with COVID.
The bank will take care of my
Yeah,
Visa card.
yeah.
Takes care
If
of
you've got
that.
credit cards, you're probably at least partly
Yeah,
insured.
Yeah. Okay.
My credit card does cover it.
Okay.
Ours too, yes.
No, that's good. And then we can.
So yeah, I think we'll start with first preparing for the tourist visa for at least 1-2 months. See
Yep.
around few cities that we love, we like. It's all about. It's more. Everything is because we are trying to find a place where we can really love in terms of food, in terms of culture. Language is okay, we'll learn it. That's not even a problem. But it's more about how you enjoy the food. Food is the biggest criteria for
I'm
me.
100%
And also,
with you there.
yeah,
Completely agree.
how much people.
He's a chef in the house, basically.
Yeah.
I don't cook.
Yeah.
So
How much people actually get along with each other, how they behave with each other. I like the Japanese hospitality. They like warm people and they are,
They're very
nice.
polite. It takes a while to
Polite.
understand if they're really being nice to you or not, but they're very polite.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Nobody bothers each other unless it's absolutely necessary. That part is true.
Yeah,
yeah, I was listening to him the other day, like what does it mean? Like they say, chodo,
Yeah.
like that. Just like no, please don't let me move on with it.
Yeah, but then I like the polite people and also otherwise it's beautiful country, of course. So
Exciting
Obviously.
stuff. So
Yeah.
when
Thank
can
you
we
for your
look forward
time.
to when can we look forward to welcoming you here, do you think?
Definitely. So we can't
I
have.
think we need some background information about the tourist visa so we can
Oh, you don't need to
start,
apply for a tourist visa. You just get to the airport. They give it to you now straight away.
even for Chinese.
As far as I'm aware, yeah. Check with your Japanese
Oh, really?
passport. But yeah, as far as
I
I'm
think
aware.
yeah, they actually did something, some announcement I saw about Japanese visa. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
As based on how easy or difficult it is, we will be there.
Passport is pretty useless.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we just okay, just revive that free come free go kind of.
Yeah.
Wow.
October 11th.
Oh, yeah, I just looked at a news
Yeah, from
actually,
October 11, anyone can
recently.
enter, I think, but confirm with your consulate.
Yeah, they
Sure.
need the 3 vaccine to enter Japan.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll get more. Not a
Okay,
problem.
okay.
Enough side effects already. So
We'll think about that.
yeah, so this sounds cool. So which city you are? You're in Fukuoka. So probably we can meet you there. And then
That would be great.
hang
Happy to
around
welcome
with-
you here. I occasionally get to
See-
Tokyo as well. So let me know when you've got concrete dates.
Well, Tokyo, we wouldn't be staying there more than 2-3 days just to
Yeah.
look
I
around.
mean, like Ginza, and then I
Yeah,
just want to go like Fujisan, Onsen, Hokkaido. I don't know because I don't want to live there. But then the food in Hokkaido is really good.
I would leave the onsens to when you get to Kyushu. Around Fukuoka, we have amazing onsens here.
Okay, cool.
yeah.
All right,
that was
excellent. So looking forward to seeing
really
you here.
great conversation
know.
and looking forward to
Thank you.
see
Fantastic
long
speaking
term
to you.
plan with you actually. Yeah.
Excellent.
Have a good day.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so there you have it. The conversation is a bit all over the place, but I really enjoyed it. And this sort of recommendation that I've given to them very much stands for everyone who's never been here before. If you'll recall, when we spoke last episode about the relocation process itself, I highly advise to engage in conversations with people who live here before making any decision of your own. Well, if you've never actually been to Japan, that becomes even more of an imperative. Definitely come visit here at least once or twice before quitting your job and packing your bags. Make sure that the Japan you might be envisioning is actually what you thought it might be, and it usually isn't. Whether you think you like it because of the food, the culture, the history, the people, the weirdness, or any combination of those factors, you might actually be surprised when you experience it firsthand, because yes, it can be all of those things that you imagine, but it also might not be for you. And no amount of YouTube videos or books will prepare you for what it's really like. And more important, what it's not like, being here or living here in person. So save yourself the harsh awakening. And look, it might not even be that. Maybe Japan is everything you've imagined or more. But save yourself a huge amount of trouble in advance and at least visit here once before jumping to any conclusions about living here. And definitely before starting to liquidate your life elsewhere and taking action to move here. Believe me, you won't regret it. And it'll most likely save you a good few thousands of dollars at least in headaches if you know what to expect at every step of the way and you've got a clear idea of what you're going to be doing when you arrive here. What you're going to be doing for income, what you can expect in expenses, much, much more than that. And we're always happy to advise on that as well, of course. Now, if you found value in this podcast, we'd really love it if you could like, subscribe, and even better, share the episode with anyone in your network who might also find value in it. And of course, leave us a review or a comment wherever you might have found this podcast. Your word of mouth is our oxygen, and it helps us reach more and more and more people who might find value in the topics that we cover here. We love hearing from you. And of course, if you want to be on the podcast, either as a sponsor, we can definitely put you in the ears of anyone interested in moving to Japan, or even better, as a guest, either via recorded conversation or just send in your questions, audio, video, written form. We'll try to give you the answers you're looking for. Just drop us a line here in the comment section or via DM or on email, info@nipponbridge.com. That's INFO, info@NIPPON, nipponbridge.com. All one word. We want to know what you think. Hope to have you with us again next time. And until then, have a great day or night ahead. Yoroshiku.